Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds, hanging out with this nerd.
Nerdarchy is Ted.
Today we're going to ask you, what does a slad, bullywug, and grung all have in common? We're going to start this video by thanking our sponsor, Frog God Games. Right now, Frog God Games has one of the biggest monster books on Kickstarter right now. If you're seeing this after, I'm sure you'll be able to go pre-order or go buy it from froggodgames.com. We're going to put a link in the description below so you guys can go check that out. So right now, the Kickstarter is Tome of Horror. It's combining like 4 monster books into one mega monster book. And the original ones were all black and white. Now they're going to be color.
Going to be color. It's four books that were originally Pathfinder converted to 5e. It's going to be amazing.
So with that, go check out Frog God Games. Links are in the description below. And, you know, a little bit of this video has been kind of inspired by Frog God Games and how they came about the name of their company. I believe the owner is a big fan of Tsagath. I'm not even sure how you would say that, but he's one of the great old ones.
Saga, it would be like Sugoa or something along those lines.
But there's a T in front of it, so yeah. I don't know if it's a silent T or, you know, a whisper T.
But it was a demon lord considered the frog god, and that is where the derivation of Frog God came from. Right.
So we were thinking, you know what our world could probably use?
A frog god.
Its own frog god, right? Because listen, you got Gripply, you got Grung, you got the Blonheim, you've got Froghemoths, you got Slad, you got Bullywugs, giant frogs and giant toads. These are the ones I can think of off the top of my head.
And that's like that. So, there's a lot of crazy alignments that are in these things. There's a lot of crazy belief in all of these different races and structures, but none of them are good. Like, none of them are like, oh, let me make this, a swamp or forest, a shiny, happy place.
The closest we get is chaotic neutral with the slat. Now, Gripplies, they might have been neutral good, or they might have been one of the goodly races back in the day. And we don't have a 5e version of those yet. But, the idea of having this progenitor, being that's like has spawned all these frog and toad-like creatures kind of appeals to me. And he also probably needs a cult.
Right. So if we work on, what is this frog god in our world? What kind of things are important to him, and then what kind of organization is going to spring up based on those desires and beliefs?
So I think we were talking a little bit beforehand, and we kind of came up with kind of like the tenets would probably be like hunger, maybe avarice, maybe sloth. I'm grabbing a little inspiration from the Pac-Man frog, which, I remember my dad having these things, and like literally it's like a stomach with legs. It just lives to eat. That's all they pretty much do.
So, like, you would literally have whoever is the physically biggest would be, considered the top. So
it's how they kind of like, maybe too, like maybe that's their idea of beauty as well. Like the idea of someone who is basically being able to gorge and be a glutton and have all the finest things in life, and that's like really beautiful to them. And it also shows, prestige and a position of power that they've earned.
Because if you have allowed yourself to get so big, it must mean that everything that you've done has clearly allowed you to consume more than everyone else around you, which means you're the best.
So that's an interesting concept, and I think it works really well for the monsters. But when you get to the cultists, then it's going to be a little more fun to try and figure that part out. But then again, like, they could have this warped sense of what beauty is, so maybe it does work for them.
Well, I mean, typically whenever you have someone that's going to be attracted or drawn towards a cult, they're in it for the power, they're in it for the prestige, they're in it, possibly to social climb, within those structures. If you've got this big cult leader, and he has gotten to the point where he is so massive that people come to just feed him as an homage, either to the just the head of the cult itself, or because he or she has instilled himself as, well, I must be a divine agent because I've become so massive. So then it's well, is it a cleric? Is it a warlock? What is going on with that?
So what do you think these like the typical members of this cult would be after? And like what is their relationship with these monstrous frog type creatures?
Well, for one, the cult members could be, some of them could be bullywugs and grung that have been drawn in towards this. It could be slod who have been cast out of limbo or have been stuck on the prime material plane and have been drawn towards a a more semblance of home. But then you have outcasts from other societies that either have this twisted point of view or in order to not become food have chosen to worship or serve.
What do you think about the idea of gaining the favor of our frog god? You gave him a name.
Yeah, I like the term, the name Muckwuggle.
Muckwuggle. So Muckwuggle would probably be like the Bullywug's name, maybe he has many names, which is possible. But we'll start with Muckwuggle, and I guess how you say it too. Like you said, it kind of cheery and friendly, but it could be Muckwuggle.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna come out frog like. It's gonna come out with that croakiness to it, as one would expect from that kind of throat.
Muckwuggle the Eater. So, what if one of the major boons for the cultist is he, you get the blessing of Muckwuggle, and the blessing of Muckwuggle is, like you become a werefrog, lycanthropy.
That'd be pretty cool.
I mean, frogs are omnivores, for the most, with heavy carnivore and side to them. So they would be. I think they'd make a good lycanthrope. And it's all fun and games until they're like jumping on you like Battletoads, out of the 80s. So.
I definitely like the idea of weretoads, werefrogs, because if you're surrounded by frog and frogmen, and you're a human, you're going to look out of place. You're gonna look off. But if you can serve long enough for them to convert you, your hybrid form is going to be that. You're going to be a frog person.
Well, and also, too, if we look at the Pac-Man frog, one, they have a lot of really cool colors. So visually, they're kind of spectacular. But then you take that and you combine that with this idea that this creature that's always hungry, which is actually them anyway. But if we're saying like these really large kind of obese creatures is like the epitome of where they want to go. So these things would actually kind of be enormous, and just because they're big doesn't mean that they may still move around pretty well,
right? Especially
in water, because they would be amphibious. They'd be kind of terrifying to encounter, in like riverlands or swamps, and next thing you know, these giant creatures that you didn't even know were there are popping out of nowhere, because they kind of have the ability to make themselves kind of flat and spread themselves out. So so they would definitely make great ambushers. But the question is though, would they be doing the ambushing? Because we figure this is the blessing of those that have worked the hardest or that have the most prestige. So maybe they have underlings doing it. I don't know. I'm not sure how it's going to fit in.
Well, I think
we'd have fun with it.
I think like all of it would, like it would be for the service of the cult, which like they're not going to want jewels and money. Like the money is there to go buy more food or to get better provisions, but they're going to be about raiding areas. They're going to be about hunting. Everything's going to be about bringing in more food for the cult and for the leader.
Well, I don't think it's just food. Like when I think of hunger, I don't think just food. Hunger could be a lot of things. Need, desire. Like, we could go in different directions with it.
That's true.
And I see like a cult infesting and infecting a local community. And the idea is like, oh, you're the downtrodden, you should have better, you need more. Like that would be the way they'd work it, and get the local populace up into a fervor, and even maybe not a village or a town, maybe even a city. Like they start gathering all the dissidents to them and be like, hey, you're always hungry, and like maybe they do use food and things that offer like the opulence of life to them, like to improve the quality of their life and tell them that they can have it and they're worth it, and it's all part of the brainwashing to get them indoctrinated into the cult.
And then you turn them into a werefrog.
And then eventually you turn them into a werefrog after you lick them from across the other side of the room. Because come on, you need a tongue attack if you're going to be a werefrog.
So like I kind of want to talk about the werefrog. The giant frog has the ability to swallow a small creature. So would the werefrogs have the ability to like literally store things in their gullet?
I think so, but the giant frog is medium sized, right? And that's why they can eat a small thing.
But that's like something medium sized eating a 30-pound meal.
Oh yeah.
So like I want to go hide this item.
Like a gnome.
Well, like I'm not thinking a long sword because they're long, but something small and compact. They could easily just be like, oh, I'll just store it in my gullet for now and regurgitate it later.
The ultimate mule.
Because it literally says that under bullywugs when they ride the giant frogs, that they will take their meals and bring it back and share it. So there's no need to carry the meal when the frog will just eat it and then go back.
That is really disgusting, Ted. Really disgusting.
It's in the monster manual.
But no, that's a great idea. But I'm also thinking like just from the perspective of like creating the monster and having special attacks, small, being able to swallow a small creature. Maybe they're large. Maybe maybe that's part of the kind of like maybe they grow, when they become werefrogs. So they're more like the size of an ogre, than they are a human. And maybe it has more to do with their girth than it does their actual height. Like maybe they're only like 7 foot tall. Still pretty big,
yeah.
But they're nearly as wide as they are tall.
That'd be impressive, and if all of a sudden that you've got this town that's been worked up, and half of them are werefrogs, they're able to then transform and take over,
and then so I definitely see like them using minions like bullywugs, grung, maybe slad to certain extent, or perhaps it's a slad that actually is the one running the cult. So you could do different things like that, or even a powerful grung could actually be in charge of the cult, and with our strange poison abilities as well.
That's true. So like you could actually incorporate some of these different abilities and create different iterations of the werefrog.
You could, and also I could also see like each cult being different, right? Like they have a different way they do things, and maybe they revere different frog creatures than others. Because you also have like the frog hemoth, which we've done videos on that and how cults might worship that. Well, that would fit right in with our frog god cult, and that maybe they keep it as a pet, maybe they revere it, they're trying to feed it all the time. That maybe the cultists that aren't able to conform and please the cult leaders, they get fed to the frog hemoth, or perhaps their rivals.
The frog hemoth could literally be like the temple guardian.
Oh
so
yeah.
Like you would have to cross a walkway, and in that underneath the bridge of the walkway is this big swamp, which would be apropos for frog creatures, and living in that is the frog hemoth, and if it doesn't detect the scent of frog on you, well then it's going to come after you.
It could be. And also I'm thinking like we could come up with like special rituals for getting the blessing of this frog god, and it may even involve like being bitten by the frog hemoth or touched by the frog hemoth. All this stuff could happen in the temple. So it's a starting point. We got a lot of work to do with this one, guys. But we have a place where you can weigh in and help us define this frog cult, this frog god. Maybe he's a demon instead. I don't know. It's a work in progress. We literally just came up with most of this stuff right here during the video. So in the comments below, let us know what you think while you're at it. Like, share, and subscribe.
Don't forget to check out the link to Frog God Games and go get your awesome stuff, as well as check out that Kickstarter.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.